Hello, this is Matt from tracymac.co.uk and from unboxings.com, and here we are finally with the Samsung Galaxy Tab. Managed to get hands on one, so we'll do a quick unboxing and demo video for you now. Pretty neat packaging, and it's well, it's not over the top for sure, because obviously the tablet fits just about inside the box, and so it's pretty economical. And the tablet there, which we'll come back to in a second. Just want to show you what other accessories we get. So inside the box we have a quick start guide and warranty card. And I have a wired headset. It's pretty decent. So we have the different size rubber grommets for the earphones, and a 4-pole 3.5mm jack on one end, decent length of cable, an inline microphone with a push button, which is pretty small, and then the actual headphones themselves, which I've used before with the Samsung ones. They are really quite good. They're among the best that get supplied with a new handset or tablet in this case, but they are really quite good. And also in the box we have a USB to a sort of proprietary style connector. It looks very similar to that you find on the iPod, but it is a large wide connector, so it is not something you're going to want to lose, obviously. And then finally, the component parts of the charger, which is in two pieces. Again, this is kind of similar to the arrangement that Apple have, where you have this bit plugging into the other, but that, I guess, does allow them to have a generic component there for the charger. That's a USB connector there. Actually fit to a UK 3-pin plug. So there we go. So the tablet itself, I guess most people are going to be sort of aware of this. This is certainly the pick of the Android tablets at the moment, weighing in at just 380 grams, which is exceptionally, it feels exceptionally light actually when you consider how big it is. It has a 7-inch display, which is actually 600 by 1024 pixels, or obviously 1024 by 600 depending on your orientation, running Android Froyo 2.2. Let's peel off this here so that we can see that a bit better. On the front we do have a forward-facing camera, which we can use, or should be able to use at some point in the future, for video conferencing and everything else. Hopefully Skype will add support to their Android application for that in future. Below that we have the four touch sensitive buttons, which are pretty standard among Android handsets. So you've got a menu, home, back and search button, although they're in a slightly different order to standard, but they are there nevertheless. On the left hand side we don't have a great deal of well, nothing really, apart from the microphone just on the side there. All the rest of the connectors are around the other side. So you've got two loudspeaker grills on the bottom, and that connector for sync and charge, that proprietary style connector. On the right hand side is pretty much where it's all at. So we have a cover over a SIM card socket, a cover over a micro SD card socket, an up and down volume control, and then the power button, which obviously hold down to power on. And then on the top we have a 3.5mm headphone connector for using, well, obviously plugging in your own headphones that use a 3.5mm jack, or obviously the supplied wired headset. On the back we have a 3.1 megapixel autofocus camera with a flash, although I guess you're going to kind of look a little bit silly taking photos with a great big tablet, but it is there and supported nevertheless. I suppose for just your ad hoc and one-off photos, you can do that. Back cover doesn't remove, it's all integrated, so no user replaceable battery. Specification: quad band for GSM and tri-band for HSDPA. Will work pretty much wherever you take it throughout the world. And in terms of dimensions, it's 190mm from top to bottom, 120mm wide, and just about 12mm thick. That is pretty impressive really in terms of the proportions and how thin it is. It's extremely thin, and as I say, very lightweight. 380 grams is pretty exceptional. It's TFT display, and it is obviously capacitive touchscreen. It does have also built-in vibration, which is pretty good. Internal memory, it's available in 16 and 32 gig models. I'm actually not sure what I have here. It doesn't actually say, and I don't think Samsung or Clove Technology, who actually supplied the device for us to review, haven't let us know. So it's either 16 or 32 anyway. Has built-in 512 meg of RAM and a 1 GHz processor. Wi-Fi supporting 802.11b, G and N standards. Now, while I'm rattling on about the specification, let's see if we can just power up. There we go. While that turns on, carry on with the specification. Built-in Bluetooth 3.0 with A2DP support. USB supporting USB 2.0, but that is a proprietary connector, as I've already mentioned. Do have built-in GPS and AGPS support. Accelerometer for when you actually rotate the device, it will rotate the orientation of the display. We can record video at 720 by 480 pixels at 30 frames per second, so that's pretty decent. And it's an ARM Cortex processor. It's asking me to insert the SIM card, so let's actually just go through the setup there. So I'm going to skip that. And it's going to tell me about tapping the on-screen keyboard. It's basically telling me how to use an Android handset if you haven't done so. It's I suppose that's useful as a getting started. Decent size QWERTY keyboard, as you can imagine, because it is a large tablet. It has obviously got a large keyboard, and whether or not that will rotate, I guess they haven't set the rotation up for the sort of introduction or demo getting started, so we'll skip through this. We scroll through. We can change. Oh, it's asking me to change it. There we go. We can change the type, so we can turn it on predictive, auto capitalization, all those sorts of things. So we'll go to next. We'll turn Wi-Fi on. We'll set it to Wi-Fi only for now. Agree to using my location with Google Location, obviously using the GPS. We'll finish that and let that go through. So we don't have an awful lot of battery left. So that's our basic introduction to the device. And then we obviously have the home screen. We have Google search. It tells us what our active applications are, and a few icons on the desktop. So we've got EFT, Game Zone, Samsung Movies, I think that is, phone, video, maps, YouTube, and Android Market. Underneath we have the prerequisite applications. So we have all of those installed. You'll notice that they have, many of them in actual fact, have their own styling of icons. So rather than just having an icon, they have a little tablet or square behind them, which does make it feel a bit iPhone or iPad-y really, with the backgrounds that they've got. But that's fine. It just does mean that it's a little bit more stylized. And we've got obviously a series of other applications here. I suppose this will probably expand as you install. So we've obviously got 2 pages worth here, but I'm assuming that that will actually increase as we go along. To go back home, let's go into settings and let's get that Wi-Fi turned on. And let's turn on Wi-Fi settings, turn on Wi-Fi, and let's get ourselves connected to a Wi-Fi network. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we get connected pretty quickly, which means that we can go back home and go into things like the browser. We'll launch up the browser. So the backlight has decided to switch itself down, which is interesting why it's done that. That won't let us turn it up. Well, we'll carry on regardless. We'll enter the URL. Head over to our site. It's actually one of the suggested options anyway. There we go. That's loading very fast. Obviously I am over broadband using Wi-Fi, but the page is loading exceptionally quickly. And obviously as a large screen it works exceptionally well and lays out perfectly well. 2-finger zooming is obviously more than adequate and capable. And if we rotate the device around, the screen will rotate to suit, zooming around and scrolling using 2 fingers and everything else. In terms of a browsing experience, having a 1024 pixel wide display means that most sites, including ours, will work as designed in terms of the layout and everything else, so that's exceptionally good. Not sure why the backlight is switching down the brightness, but I suspect it might be because of the limited battery power the actual device is reporting it has at the moment. But we'll go back out there, go back home, and the backlight brightness hasn't come back up, so let's just go and change that in the settings, under display settings. Let's just turn the brightness back up. There we go. Before we go and do anything else. Okay, so let's take a look at YouTube. I'll do a search for Leo D unboxing. Leo D being a YouTube, my YouTube alias. There we go. So Let's pick one. Oh, well, for the sake of it, let's pick the Devil Streak. Loading video. And that loaded, and that's working very quickly in HQ. No complaints with that. Streaming time, actually, buffer time was exceptionally quick. So that's a very quick look at the YouTube application. In terms of the rest of applications, we've got Google Latitude, Google Search, Google Mail, Android Market. Why not? Let's go and sign into the Android Market, and we'll sign in. Let's go and do that. There you go. We'll sign in. We'll allow it to back up data. Finish the setup. It'll ask me about terms and conditions, which we'll accept. Now going and loading Android Market. There we go. So a very familiar thing. Most people have seen Android Market before. It works perfectly well on this type of device. In fact, it works really nicely because you've got a large screen to actually play with. And obviously you've got your categories for games and everything else, and apps, and obviously downloads. The only thing I suppose to be slightly sort of cautious of, and it's got an update before Google Maps there, is that perhaps not all applications will work on this display format, being 1024 by 600 or 600 by 1024. So it's just something to be cautious of when you download any applications, to make sure they do work. Google Mail should have actually synchronized as well, which it has there, as you can see, because that obviously uses the same account as Android Market, so that's working there. Music, so that's about a low battery, so it's not actually going to launch, and there's no songs anyway. Google Maps, which it's saying accurate to within 3.5 kilometers, so that's icon at the back there is flashing for the GPS. And there we go, loaded well, not terribly accurately, but then again we're indoors, so it takes a while to actually pick that up. We could change that around. See, we could change the settings there so that we can actually, instead of picking up we can actually change the layers so that it actually has terrain, satellite buzz, latitude, or satellite view. There we go, which is much cooler. But it's a very straightforward Google Maps application. Digital frame. So there we go, there's a clock there, so we can actually set up slideshows and music with a kind of digital photo frame style. We have a daily news briefing, and obviously we looked at the browser. We've got calendar there, and again, because we have such a large display, it does mean that we can get much more on, and the calendar looks nice, and we've got day, week and month view, list views and everything else. So it's, it does mean that it does work quite well. So we can have Google Places, Google Navigation, News and Weather, which we can just take a quick look at. News and Weather. So you've got weather, top stories and UK news, different tabs along the top. So that's very useful. And if we go back home, we can actually look at the other pages that we have amongst the desktop. So this first one with all the sort of main icons and Google Search, and then we have a daily briefing, which we can add other stuff into here. And it looks like three pages that are completely blank, which we can obviously add widgets on shortcuts to. So you look at the widgets that are available. There's quite a few in here. So you've got weather, a couple of different clocks, daily briefing, Google Latitude, picture frame, Yahoo Finance, and so on, a few other things. And obviously you can download other widgets and other, install other applications that have their own widgets and everything else. So it's pretty cool. And unlike some of the other sort of Android handsets, it starts on page 1 being over on the left hand side, and then you scroll to the right rather than starting in the middle and going either side. But I guess that's just the way it is. In terms of videos, is there anything already on here? You've got a couple of things here. Dark Knight, which is not going to play because it's saying we've got a low battery. Oh, it is going to play. Hello, completely dark. That's really... which is not going to allow me to turn the brightness up on, unfortunately. But there's a few videos there that are pre-set up. So that's a very quick look at the Samsung Galaxy Tab. We'll have a full review for you over the next couple of weeks. Do a comparison with some of the other devices that are available on the market. And obviously we can't ignore the likes of the Apple iPad as well, but some people are looking for something that's more customizable and more maybe hackable and everything else, which obviously the iPad isn't. It's a little bit more restrictive, whereas the Samsung and the Android tablets in general are not. So as I say, we'll have a full review for you over the next couple of weeks on tracyandmatt.co.uk. In the meantime, if you want to follow us on Twitter, it's twitter.com/tracyandmatt, or on Facebook, facebook.com/tracyandmatt.co.uk. I'll be back soon with some more videos and reviews, but for now, thanks for watching.